Right, Akado Armory, guys, get yourself a look over at their website, and they're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. So go get yourself some of the equipment. I'm now going to talk about the sword fight I've just had with Chris. Right, guys, you should have now seen the first fight video. Now, I'm going to put my thoughts here, but first of all, I'm going to give you a little bit of video that was actually taken out of the original video because it was getting too long. So here that is. Right, guys, I'm going to tell you about the path of Masashi, but first of all, I'm going to tell you what I think about the sword fighting. Now, first of all, Chris won. Chris won hands down. Anything I say is not me saying, oh, Chris shouldn't have won and I should have done better. But I have got some observations, and this is my point. So, and what I am trying to do, if you're new to what I do, is I'm trying to get away from what we think would be happen to more realistic sword fighting, like the HEMA guys did. And I'm trying to take what we have in Koryu, break away all the sort of barnacles that have held onto it, free it up and use the techniques, okay? So I am not trying to sword fight. I'm trying to use specific techniques logically, which they say don't do, so I'm at a disadvantage there, but I'm trying to make these handful of techniques I've studied work in an environment where I'm trying to force those techniques. But still, I want to say outright, Chris won without a doubt. Now, if you put those strikes together, and I'll talk about the stoppage in a minute, but if you put those strikes together, what actually happened was I'd have got a lacerated arm, would have carried on, he'd have lacerated my head wound here, we'd have had no amputations, but then what we'd have crossed a few times, and then what would have happened is I'd have cut right into his arm, probably severed down most of it off. It would have to be amputated, but I'd have then received a stab wound to the lower abdomen, which I could have come back from, but I doubt it. I'd have probably died of septicemia or whatever a few weeks down the road. So Chris would have been, his sword fighting days would have been over in real life, and he'd have been a samurai doing secondary tasks, but may have, had a good reputation. Now in Natoryu, it talks about the different levels of sword fighting. Chris would have won there, and I think he would have come away at Chu level, which means he didn't get away unscathed. Natori Isui Sensei says, if you don't know, he's a tactician's master from Wakayama, and he basically a very good samurai, and he says if you get in, strike and kill them and down, it's Joe level. If you get in, both strike and come away with wounds, but you kill your enemy, which you would have done, it's a Chu level. And if you get in, get killed, or don't strike, or fail to commit suicide afterwards, it's Gay level. You know what I mean? Not gay, it's Gay, which is Japanese for lower level. So basically Chris won, but I do think in the future I'm going to change the way I do these combats. We're going to just keep going, because it got stopped by the sensei, then it got stopped by us saying, has anybody hit? In the future, guys, if you challenge me, or if you accept my challenge, we're going to go and just keep going and then review the footage later until it's either obvious that one of us is dead because you just wouldn't get up from a stab straight through the heart or right through the guts, you know what I mean? Or if it's like you totally like whack straight your hand, your arm would be off. So we'll keep going until that is obvious, or we have to review the footage, because of course we're doing it padded and everything. So I just want to say an awesome thank you to Chris and his group. Thank you very much for his sensei to allowing us to do it. That's my first fight out of 60. I'm going to explain now what the path of Masashi is, and basically by the time I finish the 60, we should have a good understanding of what works or what is there in Japanese Koryu. So now I'm going to tell you about the path of Masashi. Right, so basically I think overall we should fight on until not just one shot, because I remember reading Lavcardy O'Hearn, who was Irish American, I think, and he basically went to Japan and was talking about the different types and things in Japan and what was going on, and there was different commentators at the time, and they said what was quite common in Japan was that even from the lowest born person, they could grab a sword, walk 50 miles. I think it was like literally they said they would walk 50 miles, just go in and start hacking a man to death, and then kill themselves. They didn't really care, and drown themselves, throw themselves off cliffs, kill themselves, whatever. He said the Japanese are phenomenal at this sort of like single-minded, go to kill someone and don't care if you die. And that was even in the late 1800s. So in the Sengoku period, it might have even been more insane. So I do genuinely believe that a laceration here and a cut here and all that would not stop anyone. And what I've learned from this, what I've learned from the fight, is the fact that I stand by what I've said all of my life, and I've said this many times, you need zero training to kill someone with a sword. In fact, not only that, it is very easy to kill someone with a sword if you are angry enough and ferocious enough and attack fast and strong and multiple times. You are going to seriously damage, if not kill, someone with a sword without any training. This idea of holding it this way and doing this and doing that is absolute nonsense if you don't mind dying. So if you're absolutely furiously going to kill someone, you don't need any training. Just go and murder them and don't care if you die. You will win. So probably. So the aim of swordsmanship, in my opinion, and I think I'm right, has always been to defend yourself from crazed or any type of attack and get out of it alive, even if you try to kill the other person. But that's the hard bit. Killing people with a sword is easy. Stopping being killed by a sword and then killing the person is difficult. That's the problem with swordsmanship. So any attack will work if you don't mind dying. Now, so I think any two samurai, from all the literature I've read on samurai, any two samurai have got to the point of drawing their swords, knowing full well they'll probably have to commit suicide, or it's like last ditch to go and again, you're going to go and kill them, or the simple fact that they're young lads. Let's not forget they are 15-year-old boys towards 25 who are just going out murdering, killing people. And we see in all the documentation people saying like young people like brash and all that and go for it. I do not think these lacerations would make a slight bit of difference on them. You know, the kendo tap on the head. It's like, well, so when we do these fights in the future, the next 59 fights, the lesson I've learned from the fight with Chris is not to stop until you're absolutely sure one of you is dead. Otherwise, it's like it becomes a bit of a point system again. This is too much like kendo. So I'm absolutely going to next time make sure we push it to like, yep, that person is dead. And which one of how many wounds have we come away with? Would I be wounded or would I be dead? Because remember, Isui Sensei tells us from Natori, he says, to be unscathed out of a fight is the best option ever. This is from Book of Samurai. Now, the red one. But what he says is to be cut and kill the enemy is a middle level, a normal thing. So basically, the normal way in a sword fight is to fight, come away with scars, blood and lacerations, but have killed the enemy. The worst is to have not done that and died yourself, or come out the worst of it, or to have killed them and not sorted the stuff out later. So, there is a lot to consider in there, and the roundup is basically, let's go at it till one of us is absolutely sure the other one is dead, and see if the other one is even going to survive. So let's go to the next thing. So my next point is, I don't think people would attack so openly. I love the film The Duelist, and I love the duel from that. I think it's so brilliant in the sense that they really know their life is on the line. And what you find now in modern films is buildings are falling down, people are dying left, right and centre, people blowing up. There's no real heart for the danger of death. Whereas if you watch The Duelists, a Ridley Scott film, they do not want to die. When he's like, I don't want to die. We've got a duel out of honour, but we don't. We want to live. It's my life. We've got one shot at it. So you see them like, I'm not sure. And they do it over their lifetime 3 times. And there is old footage of some old chaps having a mini duel and all that. And it's not so exciting. But I do think genuinely medieval duels would have been quite exciting to a certain level, but very much restrained, because you do not want to. It's not like kendo, it's not like sports, it's not like HEMA, it's not like what I did. You tap, oh yeah, that's great. It's your arm is either going to be tendon severed. On the outside, I'm going to say not much happens, to be honest. You can probably still function quite a lot with most of these muscles and some lacerations on the top of the bone. I'm going to say yes. Maybe a certain percentage reduced. But on the whole, unless you're being cut in here, which is Katori Shinsuru is all about that, you're gonna be all right. You're gonna lose blood. You're gonna take a while to sort of faint, so you'll be all right. And I know I'm remembering from this is Musashi's wearing people down and cut the corners, but I'll have to check that. So the point I'm making is, back in the original time, people would not be so eager to very quickly jump in at this strike. They would definitely fight defensively, I think, at first, unless they were absolutely prepared to die. It doesn't matter. And they would then really go for it to town and kill that person. So over these 60 duels, we are going to push it so that you have to show that you've died. I did honestly want to carry on when that clip came. I heard it very faint. I felt it, but I was like, it wasn't enough to stop the fight. And the tap on the head wasn't enough to stop the fight. But I hadn't explained to Chris beforehand that we should just keep going. In my head, I was like, let's just keep going. But Chris, obviously doing kendo, had come off and he'd done his point. So it's like the tap out. So I was like, oh, it didn't really work. So we must correct that in the future. So that's where I'm at with that. So I'm happy with the fight. I thought it was wonderful. Now, next bit. Now, the next bit is the disadvantages I am at. I promise you, this is not me saying I'm at a disadvantage, help me. But genuinely, I will give credit to all the fighters I'm going to fight. But I am at a disadvantage for a couple of reasons. One is I haven't trained in martial arts for about 15 to 20 years properly. No joke. I'm genuinely fit. I can walk. I can, do archery. I enjoy hill climbing, stuff like that. I stretch. So I'm not inactive, but I'm by no means done any martial arts training for a long time. And the last time I had a sparring duel was at one of the Scholar Gladiatoria in Leeds, I think, which was 2004. So 18 years ago, the last time I clashed with someone with a sword, and I've only ever done it 8 times in total, 8 bouts in total for my life. So 18 years ago, 8 bouts, probably over a period of 6 months when I tried to get into the HEMA world, but it was too far away. Leeds was too far away at the time, so there's nowhere really for me to do it. The one in Manchester, it sort of fizzled out, I think, or I don't remember it, it moved on. So basically, I don't have that training where these people I'm fighting are training every week in swordsmanship. So I need a training partner. I don't have one. My girlfriend, after coming, has offered to get the kit on and train with me, and she's quite a nimble little creature. So, you know what I mean? She's like, she'll give it a go, and we're hopefully going to get this dojo sorted in the next few years, so I'll be there doing it. So I will eventually start training. I did honestly feel that the first 2 bouts, 1 and 2, where I lost, I genuinely feel I was just starting to sort of, get back into it. I was like, yeah, and then you can see by the 3rd bout, I'm getting it sorted and I'm in there. So it was like get the rust off the cogs for a minute, but we'd just gone straight into it. So hopefully by by fight 5, 6, 7, I'll be well. The rust will be off and I'll be in there, get it done. And it must admit, it felt by the 4th one, I was in there going for it. Just took me a minute to do it. I made several mistakes that I promised myself I wouldn't make. Distancing and observation mistakes. I said I knew in my theories are different and I got them wrong. Isui Sensei tells us again, Book of Samurai, the red one. He says, if you are not close enough to punch them in the face, your blow will not land decently. He says if you're not close enough to run in and punch them, then what will happen is you'll hit with the kisaki, which does nothing but superficial damage. This is what he's saying. You can get cut all you like on your tits and your chest and all this. If you're a brought up warrior soldier, you are not going to give a crap when you're trying to kill the enemy and take his head off. And you know he's going to kill you, so somebody's cut, it's like, oh, I'll stop then. No, he's on you, so you've got to be on him. So there's loads of documentation of samurai with fingers missing. In fact, I think they did all the battles where they pulled the skeletons together. There was loads of 2 fingers missing on samurai like that. So, and the other disadvantage I am at, which is clear disadvantage, is I am trying to force techniques that I should be trained in, but I'm not. And I'm picking like 3 or 4 techniques for that evening to try. And I'm trying to force the situation, which the scrolls say, do not just trust your training. But I haven't got any training, so I'm having to try to train and compete at the same time. So I'm a little bit behind there. But over the time, that will change, especially if my girlfriend partners up with me and we do a lot, or I get a local guy who's going to partner with me. So that'll be quite good. And the other disadvantage is I'm putting them online. So in the old days, Yagyu, Shinkaguryu and all that, they'd have this secret. So what I should have done is not show anyone and then go and do these techniques, practice and practice and practice them, win with that technique, go to the next one, win, and then upload all 60 in 15 years' time. But obviously nobody wants to do that. So what the problem I've got is everybody's going to be watching these techniques now and going, oh, we know what Anthony's doing with this, we know what Anthony's doing with that, we know what he's doing with that, so we know what he's doing. So I am now at a disadvantage. But none of that is an excuse for whether I win or lose or whatever. This is about you guys coming out of the woodwork and let's get up against them HEMA guys and show them that we can do the same. Do you know what I mean? Because the samurai martial arts, they're not a lost art. They're just covered in barnacles. Barnacle Bill is what I'm calling it. Just covered in crap. Let's break that crap off and let's get these skills and techniques going, guys. So now let's talk about the armor. Now, number one thing I'm going to say, so it's Akado Armory. Yeah, they gave me these at cost value. I'm going to say this: if you do not own one of their steel training weapons, you need to own one. This was excellent. I thought at first when I got it, I'm like, it's pretty hard to handle. I'm out of, I'm not at practice with it. But I'll tell you what, in the fight, no problem. Handled really well, excellent. Clashed really well. It was bendable really well. Not really, it doesn't really hurt so much. It was excellent. So if you haven't got a pair of these, get yourself a pair of these. They're excellent. Akado Armory, okay? So go and find them. The next thing I did was I ditched the gloves. Both me and Chris were like, let's ditch them gloves. I'm going to be honest with you. I even had to cut them. I got this. They're so cumbersome. I would say you have about 50%, about 30% reduction in what you can do. Your thumb can't go on it. So I've had to cut it out, but that doesn't go in there. When you hold it, you literally have no control over. You only have literally, it's like a glove that's connected to the sword. You've got to move around the sword instead of moving your wrist. It stops you by about 20-30%, I'm going to say. So then what I did is I bought 2 sets of these. Luckily, Chris had bought his own gloves, but I brought all the kit for him. He didn't have to bring anything, but he'd gone and bought the helmet and all that. So I kept all the kit on the top. The elbow stuff, excellent. The forearm stuff, excellent. I originally thought they were shin guards. So I got motorbike gloves for doing that because the stuff comes to there. So you're quite well protected, which is quite good. Of course, it's not as good protection as that, but I think for, I'm going to be honest with you, we're doing, if you're getting everything that Akado have got, you're pretty much fully armoured and can't move like a Victorian image of a knight. And it was too restrictive. And we're trying to create unarmoured combat in armour, which it doesn't really work. So we ditched the overall hood helmet because most of the time we're not turning our backs on them, and it was quite good. I was at risk because I was exposed, but it's all right. But Chris got the back thing, which I'm going to get. He's going to send me the link to it, so that'll be protected. So I'm using Akado's top, their sleeves, their elbows, their swords. I've changed the gloves and I've ditched the overall hat thing, and I'm going to get the back thing because it's just a bit too cumbersome and you can't really move, especially when you go out doing these moves and you've got wrist bits and clicking and clocking. So for the extra risk involved, I think it's worth it. I took my girlfriend with me in case I broke my hand or something so she could drive home, but it was all right. Oh, and the other thing we got rid of was this, just because I'm not sure. I need to speak to the company. You put this on, I don't think it will go under it, so we put it on above, but it means you can, it'll go under and catch the throat. So we just ditched it because they're really thick-throated stuff, so they were quite good. So you could pretty much hit wherever you wanted. We didn't really go for legs because it was a bit, I'm actually a bit not thinking you could go for legs. So Akado Armory, thank you very much for this. I also have included Katana in my sponsorship because they've helped me in the past. And of course, Ben McCarthy paid for all this stuff. So one of the donators out there, a year and a half ago, put the money in, and there it is, and we've used it, and we're going to use it 60 times. Get yourself one of them. So that's where we're up to on that. Distance is massive. It's so, I didn't realise how, obviously distance and timing, yeah, we get that, but I didn't realise how important it was compared to actual techniques. You don't really need the techniques. The big sharp pointy thing goes in the other person, and it won't go in there if you're not near them. It's that simple. You have got to get near them, which means their big sharp pointy thing can go in you. Ooh. So basically, it's like, it's a struggle. And the techniques don't work up unless you're up close, like I said, like History Sensei said, and now that rings true. And you know what it makes me realise? How good Musashi was. So a couple of things to maybe realise is swordsmanship is just a collection of tricks. That's my opinion at the minute. Musashi says that's what shouldn't be done. So he's saying modern swordsmanship is just all this faffing about and little trick sort of things. And he's saying it shouldn't matter if you've got a long sword or short sword, you should be able to move around it with principles. And Musashi himself includes 5 basic tricks, the 5 fundamentals, which is one of the things I've studied in Essence. And you can see, what I'm trying to say is Musashi, I think he drew or defeated in 1 of the 60 duels. He says he's never beaten, but there's a big thing there. Being never beaten doesn't mean you didn't draw. If you were never beaten, you can still draw. So I think he draws with the Kusuri guy, doesn't he? So basically what I'm saying is Musashi, in my opinion now, was freaking awesome. He was just, to not have been defeated in at least 59 matches, yeah, and to have been in close and to done all that, awesome. awesome, top level, sorted. Because just by nature, you would really struggle to not be hit by a sword. Doesn't mean he was never hit by a sword. Do you know what I mean? He may have done. But it's made me appreciate him more. And the Yagyu have got some cool tricks. Now, what I do want to say, and I said it in the other video, is basically, no matter what people are saying online, Anthony's not followed the technique correctly or anything like that, I am doing it to what the translation says, to what the original says. Sometimes the translators argue about what that means, because sometimes it's gaze of the eye of the sun, move with the leopard of this, you know, and you're like, what? And you have to know the terminology and get in. And that's a problem. But on the whole, it's hold your sword like this, stab him in the nuts, crack on. Do you know what I mean? There's, you know, beyond all the fuzz, you can't really change it, even the pictured ones. So I'm quite happy with Yagyu Shinkage Ryu. So I'm impressed. Right, guys, I think we're going to leave it there. That's superb. I'm well impressed with Chris and everybody. We had a good time. I'm looking forward to more bouts. It's going to be good. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Let's all work together. Now, this is my personal message to all Koryu swordsmen. When I involve myself with the ninja community, I'm going to be honest, I've never met a bunch of bigger anuses in my life. They were the most horrific, horrible people. And it seems to be anybody into the Japanese martial arts are just basically plonkers, with the exception of a handful of people. So all I'm asking is Koryu people, have a bit of decency, have a bit of respect your tradition, don't be a dick, and let's have fun over the next 10 years. Come on, let's have fun, let's do it. English people, come on, some Koryu swordsmen in English, give us a shout. Come to me, I'll come to you. I'll have to share the sort of stuff. Let's do it. Let's do it, guys. It looks like fun, and it is.